Will Sarah Palin's new television job boost her chances of becoming a real contender in 2012? She's already sold more than 1 million copies of her book, Going Rogue, and has 51,000 Twitter followers and 1.8 million Facebook fans. But today on the Daily Rundown, former McCain campaign advisor Mark McKinnon said that Palin could soon realize she's got more fun, more influence in TV than in the political arena.
What's going to happen here is that Sarah Palin is going to become the equivalent of the political Oprah. But I think that ultimately, you know, being on Fox gives her political influence. She'll make a lot of money. It's an easy job with very little accountability. And I think at the end of the day, she's going to say, you know what, I really prefer that as opposed to being a political candidate.
NBC News White House correspondent Savannah Guthrie, co-host of MSNBC's new show, The Daily Rundown. And the Washington Post's Ann Kornbluth joining us now, author of the new book, Notes from the Cracked Ceiling. And Republican strategist Vin Weber joining us now. Thanks all. First to you, Ann Kornbluth. The whole Palin phenomenon, the Palin factor, she's just going to debut on Fox. This is a big launch pad. What do you think it does in terms of her political future? You've covered her very closely.
Well, I think Mark McKinnon is absolutely right. It's, I think, probably a lot more fun to do television than to go run around Iowa in the freezing cold and raise money and all the really hard work that goes into running for office, especially if it's not a sure thing that she's going to win or if there's a lot of Republican opposition to her. I think it only serves, though, to keep her in the headlines. And if she should choose to run, I don't think she would have to start as early as other candidates might. She was never going to have to worry about name recognition. But this also means that if she wants to weigh in on a hot topic of the day, she can do that. So, of course, we all have to wait and see what her ratings are the first time she appears before we draw any conclusions. But I think all in all, it's only a good thing for her.
Savannah, you had the hot interview with Mark McKinnon today on the Daily Rundown. This is what he had to say when Chuck Todd asked if she is coachable.
The most important thing is that she's got what she can't coach, which is the innate talent. I mean, she's got the DNA, she's got the chemistry, she's got the personality, and sure, I think she's coachable. You know, I think that I mean, look how she performed ultimately in that presidential debate. I mean, she went into a very, very difficult, high-stakes situation and cleared the bar, and cleared it pretty well, actually.
Let's kick that around for a second. Savannah, Vin Weber, Ann Kornbluth. Savannah, first to you. She certainly cleared the bar on the debate, but what about all of those other interviews, including, most memorably, Katie Couric's?
Well, there's no question about that. But look, in this context, one would think it's not going to be an unscripted situation. She'll know the topics well. She'll know what she wants to say. The debate proves that she is able to get a hold of information and master it. And she's able to be compelling on television. And that's what Mark McKinnon was talking about, that she's got some kind of raw ability or charisma that is appealing to people. Fox News sees it. Fox wasn't the only television organization that was interested in Sarah Palin. I know from covering the campaign and being out there with her every single day, people were really drawn to her. So there's a certain segment of society that really finds her to be a compelling person. And as I said on our show earlier, I don't know how easy television is as a job, but heck yeah, it's better than being grilled and feeling like you're having to defend your dissertation going through all those tough foreign policy topics. So maybe she'll just decide to stay in television.
Yeah, there are moments when I'm not sure exactly how easy it is either. But Vin Weber, let's talk about the favorable, the unfavorable. The latest NBC News Wall Street Journal poll has her at only 32% favorable. High negatives for Sarah Palin, but among her base, among Republicans, 57 plus favorables. So she reaches those people. She energizes her base by going on Fox.
I think even Palin skeptics within the Republican Party have been surprised here more than a year after that last election how strong her appeal is. If she decided to run for president, she would almost immediately, at a certain level, be a front runner. Maybe not in the polls, but among the activists who count in the early primaries, particularly in the early caucuses. The only thing I would say, Andrea, and this job certainly with Fox News is going to elevate her visibility more. I think she will do very well. while at it. But at some point, and it's not too distant in the future, it does become inconsistent with the hard job of running for a president. A president, what we see of presidential candidates is sort of glamorous. We see them being interviewed by people like you, and we see them doing big speeches. But there's a lot of the grind, raising the money, recruiting county chairmen in 99 Iowa counties. That job begins in earnest very, very soon. And if she's going to be devoting a lot of her time to Fox News, it's going to become inconsistent with doing the job of running for president.
But if she's appearing in a comfortable setting then, and speaking on things that she's comfortable with, that she's been well briefed on, or being a commentator, sounding off, doing basically what she's been doing on Facebook at key moments, she can position herself and also try to build up her foreign policy bona fides.
I think she can do all those things. I think she will do all those things. I'd make a distinction. I think Sarah Palin is becoming the leader of the conservative movement, not the leader of the Republican Party, which is a little different job and not necessarily the next Republican candidate, but clearly one of the most influential conservative leaders in the country. It's a different job.
And Kornbluth, if you want to run for president and you're, Mike Huckabee doing a talk show or Sarah Palin appearing as a commentator, is there a disconnect there? Do voters expect a more serious, quote-unquote, non-television personality when they're thinking about commander-in-chief?
Well, I think we'll find out. There's always room for new models. And, before this last election, we said that it had been decades since the president had come from the ranks of the Senate, that it couldn't be done. It would be very difficult. It's obviously been a long time since we've had an entertainer go on to become president. Ronald Reagan was quite some time ago, also had been governor, of course. But, Arnold Schwarzenegger did it, certainly in Hollywood, so in becoming California governor. So, well, no, Arnold Schwarzenegger becoming governor. So, I mean, there are different models of stepping stones. I wouldn't rule it out at this point, and whoever runs is going to have to run against someone, and in the absence of any other real leaders of the party, it may seem that she's only the leader of a conservative movement, but there has to be someone else who fills that vacuum, and until that happens, she could be it.
And in Notes from the Cracked Ceiling, you talk about, you write about the woman factor. Hillary Clinton spent so much time trying to prove she could be commander-in-chief, as you reported it during the campaign, that she missed going after the women voters and trying to mobilize. She took them for granted. Does Sarah Palin have any advantages or disadvantages as a woman?
Well, I think some of the obvious disadvantages will be that if women in general, and we've seen it time and again, get extra questions about how credentialed they are, how qualified they are, if they're tough enough to be president, Sarah Palin's certainly going to get those questions too, and I'm not sure they'll be answered by being on Fox and commentating and being a pundit. Of course, there is the possibility for her to draw new women voters, but so far what we saw in 2008 anyway is that she didn't draw over any Democratic voters. She was able to win Republican ones, but her support really was men and on the Republican side. It was not a bipartisan effort.
That's the key point. Her appeal to women parallels her situation nationally. Extraordinary within the Republican base, and she would get more women than any other candidate within the Republican base. But my sense is among non-Republican, non-conservative women, she actually alienates somewhat. So it's a 6 of one, half a dozen of the other in a way.
And Savannah, how seriously are Democrats, and particularly the White House Democrats, taking Sarah Palin?
Oh, I don't know. We don't hear a lot of talk about that. I think they're pretty focused on the midterms around here. But the general sense is if Palin is the nominee, they're just fine with that here, I think. I think they feel like they are equal to the task.
And I hear Vin saying that you don't think she'll run.
I just don't think she'll run. I think she's achieving a position that's very lucrative, obviously, but also that's of great influence. I don't think she'll run for president and put it all at risk.
Thank you so much. Vin Weber will be talking to you a bit later about the 2010 and the midterm elections. And Ann Kornbluth, Notes from the Cracked Ceiling, Savannah Guthrie, the Daily Rundown, and White House correspondent will be looking forward to that tomorrow as well.